and I don't think they're vampires, and I actually hope they're not vampires. I'm just saying, like, something in that vein. Yeah, yeah.
I would actually love them to be vampires because I do like a vampire story and all the vampire things. So
All
that
right.
Oh.
would be not so creepy for me.
We got her
actually.
back. She's
There,
back on
so-
board, Age. We got her
so
back.
they're
We got her back.
actually
We won her
vampires.
over.
I think I'd be okay with that.
Oh, so did you see Nosferatu?
No, not those kind of vampires. no.
No, she's talking about Twilight, Angel.
Twilight vampires, Angel.
Oh,
Vampire
okay.
Diaries, vampires, Angel. Come on.
Yeah.
From Dusk till Dawn. That's fun. It's like 2 different movies there.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I mean, that maybe, I don't know, that's borderline, maybe. They're not as loving as I like my vampire to be. So, I mean, there has to be an element of the loving for me to really like the vampire. So,
Sexy vampires for Kelly.
yes, only sexy vampires.
And from Dusk till Dawn, there's some brotherly love. You know, Tarantino's character and George Clooney, they're brothers. You know, not to spoil it for anyone, but,
Yes.
you know, Tarantino, his character gets killed, and George Clooney's character is sad. So, I mean, there's some love
Angel,
there.
I like the romantic kind of vampire love, not the brotherly kind of vampire love.
Then Nosferatu. Nosferatu is love. Nosferatu is in
All
love with. It is all love. It's all love.
Oh, I'll have to try it then. I don't know. I'll have to think about that one.
That is a great trailer, by the way. If you haven't seen that, the first Nosferatu, awesome. You guys ever play hooky in school?
I'll let the teacher
Sure,
go first,
yes.
and then I'll go.
Well, certainly, yes. I mean, I grew up not in California and the weather wasn't always nice. So on those days when the weather was like amazing, how could you possibly hang out in school? So definitely yes.
What did you do? Give me an example. It sounds like you did it multiple times when the weather was good, or
Yes.
are
So
you-
there was where I grew up, we had a lot of like mountainous areas. So we would do like cliff jumping and things like that just because it was not available most of the time. And it was nice to sort of just think you were doing something that you shouldn't, which you probably were, but it was relatively safe. So it was fun.
cliff jumping sounds pretty fun.
That's
fun.
not pretty fun. Are we talking about like high cliff, like scary cliff? Were you the first one
Not
to jump,
super
the
high
last
for
one to
me.
jump? Not too high?
Middle,
Oh, okay.
middle of the road, always in the middle, not too high. That was more my speed, but it was always very
You want to
cold
see like a
'cause it
bunch of
was-
kids jump and not die before you try it?
Yes,
You're like that kind of cliff
exactly.
jumping? Yeah.
Yep, and like check the box, and then I was good.
Nice.
What about you, Patrick? Any hooky playing?
This may surprise you both, but I have never once played hooky from school. Not a
What?
single time. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first one is I went to a private school, which was like far away and cost money. The second one is my parents were both teachers. And the third reason is because I was not cool. I didn't like have a bunch of friends and things to do, so it was kind of like, what am I gonna skip school and read comic books in my room, which I would have done if I was allowed to. But no, I don't think I missed a single day of school for any non-legitimate reason. As crazy as that probably sounds. I think there was the only day I played hooky, there was like senior class day where everybody's supposed to skip. Like where it was like understood by the school. That's the only day I think I ever actually skipped. I am an original nerd. Before it was cool, I was a nerd. Before it was cool to have no friends and read comics, I was killing it. That's what I was doing. How about you, Angel? You had kind of an eclectic background with the Army brat moving around stuff, so you probably had lots of opportunities to skip school, right?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, I was kind of like a quiet, reserved, play by the rules kind of kid. I was pretty boring. But senior year, we did have the senior skip day, which was sort of, the unofficial. It was allowed, but not really, and not the whole class. Our whole class didn't, but we did. It was an amusement park. Everyone took the train, and we went to a theme park, and that was pretty fun.
Cool.
But there was one time, and this I wouldn't say was like full on playing hooky, but like I think it was our first class in the morning. It was AP Government, just senior year as well. Our teacher didn't show up. We didn't have a substitute, and someone suggested, "Hey, let's go to Burger King." I went to high school in Germany, and this high school was on an army base, so I was a military kid, and so we were in the confines of the army base. So we decided, hey, let's go to Burger King. And so we all walked to Burger King. Some of us had cars. I didn't have a car, so I hopped in someone's car. We all hung out there for over an hour. So then we came back. And then that next class, we got a ripping from. It was my English
Ah.
teacher, and she was livid. Like it was more like, "Hey, this is not safe. You should not be doing this." It did not go over well. But
Did you ever find out why your teacher didn't show up?
it was over 20 years. I don't remember if we did.
They should have gotten the ribbing, man. That's
Fair.
on them.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened, why she didn't show, but yeah, that was it. But yeah, did the senior, I'm pretty sure that was like the only day I did played hooky in school was senior skip day.
To be fair, I was not cool either. So, but
I don't know. I cliff diving with a bunch of friends. That sounds pretty cool.
but that was okay, fair. But also, I would say, you say, "Oh, I'm not like a big rule follower," and I always say, and I still say this today, I follow all the rules that I think are more than fair. So there's that caveat, and as long as that fits the mold, then I'm okay with that. Because it doesn't seem fair when the weather is so nice, when it's been so cold and rainy and snowy that you shouldn't be able to go enjoy that day.
That makes sense. Patrick, so your private school was it like a boarding school, or was it just like a
No, it
you
was
went
just
you didn't
it was like it was a regular school, but it was
okay.
I had to bus a little further away than and it wasn't like the local kids. It was like in a different town, so it was like so it was I don't know. It was just a different experience, and I didn't have like a bunch of friends locally that you could like jump on a bike and go see.
Got it.
But to be fair, I didn't have a lot of friends far away that I had to get in a car and go see either. So I was an equal opportunity no friender.
Oh, so sad, so sad.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I came out of my shell. College was very good to me. And so was New York. So it's all right. It's all right.
All right, well, that's good. Okay, cool. So let's get into it.
Welcome to Trailer Teardowns, where we take a trailer and discuss the nuances within a trailer that make us want to see it in theaters, wait for streaming, or skip it altogether. I'm Patrick Cohen, joined by Angel Acevedo, along with friend and special guest Kelly Spizman. And today we're discussing the trailer for Weapons.
Welcome, Kelly. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Kelly's a mutual friend of ours. Known each other for, I think, over 10 years. I think I first met you.
More than that.
Did I first
When
meet
did
you
I
at
meet
your
you?
wedding?
When was...
I met Angel at my wedding, I think,
Yeah.
right? Yes.
Yeah,
And then
I think so.
Patrick at Angel's
Wait,
wedding.
I met you
Is
in
that right?
I met you in Vegas, I think. It was a Vegas trip before
was
the
that
wedding,
before?
wasn't it? Or was that after
yes.
the wedding?
Yeah, no.
Because I think I knew
that was-
Josh. I knew Josh before the wedding, so I must have met you
Oh.
guys in Vegas.
Yes.
Which
I do
had to
recall
be-
that trip.
That was my 30th
20
birthday.
2010 maybe. What? How old? I don't want to out your
2012.
age in front of all of our listeners.
2012.
2012. Okay.
It was
Yeah.
2012. So, yeah. So, yeah, that was my 30th birthday. So that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I believe I met Kelly for the first time at her wedding. So,
I think that's right.
cool, Kelly. So, welcome to the podcast. Like as Patro intro the show, and you've probably heard us talking about this outside of the podcast here. We talk about movies via their trailers and just break them down and talk about like what we like about it, what we did, what works, what doesn't, and give our rating in terms of whether we'll see it or not. But in terms of you and movies, tell us about your relationship to movies. Are you a movie fan? Do you go to the movies a lot? What are your movie habits? What's the last movie you saw? Any of that?
I don't go to the movies very often, really, anymore. Before my kids were born, I feel like I did go more often, but not so much now. The last movie I saw is sort of my husband and I, on the last day of school, we always watch Dazed and Confused. So that's the last film that I watch, but we watch it every single year. Last day of school, it's like, but I think it's very much the kind of movie I like, sort of I don't know, like there's just this like perfect event or this perfect night or this perfect experience, which is sort of very quintessential. I like films like that have sort of that hopeful feeling. Mostly I would say that's sort of my wheelhouse.
Okay, cool. Dazed and Confused, great movie.
That's the cool thing about two teachers living together, right? Is it's like when school's out, you want to celebrate, right? That's kind of
Yes.
a fun joint
Yep.
experience every year. A nice annual
Every year.
tradition. I like that. That's awesome.
Yep, it's fun. We like it.
So you don't get to go out to the movies a lot. Kids, totally understand that. Sort of a common thread with some of our other friends too. But if you do see a trailer, you're like, whoa, what would get you out? What gets you excited enough to like say, all right, we're getting a babysitter. We're going to see this in theaters. Josh and I, we're going to go out date night. We're going to see this. What in a trailer would get you to go out without the kids to see it in theaters?
I think for me, it would be one, like just going out is nice, right? Just having a time away is nice. And I like to go to movies to kind of escape the everyday of my life. So when I like go to the theater, I feel like the minute I get in there, I am very I don't think about anything else. And for me, that's very hard. I'm an overthinker all the time. So for me to sit in the theater with my popcorn and I have, my phone is off and it's just watching the film. If I need that moment, I'll probably see any film except a really, really creepy, scary one because that's too much. But in general, I pretty much any film will get me there because I like to have that experience. Is super fun for me and just gets me out of my head for a little while. And that's one of the things that can do that for me.
Cool.
I think I already know Kelly's thoughts based on what you just said about the kind of movies that wouldn't get her to theaters, but this is gonna be fun.
Well,
Let's do it.
I mean, that could be subjective. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I have some good things to say, Patrick. Don't get too worried.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Wait, did we watch Did we watch the same trailer? All right. Okay, so Weapons, the movie is written and directed by Zach Kreger. His last film was Barbarian. More on him in a bit. The film stars Julia Gardner, Josh Brolin, and young Han Solo himself, Alden Ehrenreich. I don't know how to say his last name.
I think it's Ehrenreich, right? Ehrenreich?
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 Sorry.
I think so. I don't know.
That sounds good. Sorry. And the movie's coming out August 8th. So a little background on the movie. This movie, when it was announced, there was an intense bidding war for the project. Studios and streamers were making offers on the film sight unseen before the script went out, which is like pretty unheard of. And New Line won. And what I thought was crazy, and if this is true or not, apparently Jordan Peele wanted the project for his production company, not necessarily to direct it, but when he lost out, he fired his managers, apparently. Like, he was just like so upset that he didn't get the project. So that was pretty interesting to hear.
Yeah, I read about that a little bit. It seems like he's never actually said that's why he fired his team, but it seems to have coincided right after that is when he let them go. So it seems kind of damning, which is, I don't know, awesome. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And then apparently, when I was looking up our old articles about the movie, Pedro Pascal had signed on to star in this movie. And Kelly, Pedro Pascal, we've talked about him numerous times on the show. He's Mandalorian, though most people wouldn't know because he's wearing the mask. But Pedro Pascal is in a ton of movies.
He's just a starving actor, and it's a shame he lost another role because I'm tired of seeing the best actors waiting tables. You know what I mean? He just doesn't work enough.
So yeah, like he has like 4 movies out this year, and like if he was in this one, this would have been a 5th. But I think with the workload on it, he had to back out. So hopefully he'll get the next one. So horror movies. I'm a fan. A lot of if people who are listening know that I'm a horror movie fan. Patrick, you're sort of like in between.
Yeah, I appreciate a good horror movie. I mean, I love the classics, but I'm living with somebody right now who absolutely will not watch one. So that makes it harder to get to the theater to see one, as you may imagine. But I'm also, I think a lot of times I'm let down by them. I think we talked about this a little bit in the past, Angel, but I feel like a lot of times a horror movie can like have a couple of really cool scenes so you can cut a good trailer together, and then you watch the whole movie and you're like, well, that didn't really sustain my interest for an hour and a half, or it didn't or a lot of times it's like the rules of the world don't make sense when you think about it afterwards. You're like, well, but whatever the monster was or the ghost was doesn't really make sense when you apply a little bit of logic to it. A lot of times I feel like those movies kind of let me down, but I enjoy a really good horror movie for sure.
How about you, Kelly?
I am like so scared of horror movies. I don't like horror films. I don't know. I'm a very controlling person, so I feel like I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't like that. Like, I don't like being kept on the edge of my seat. Like, I want it to just sort of unfold in a very obvious way. Not obvious, but sort of formulaic way. So then when things like jump out, I don't like that. It makes me like, I don't like it at all. And that makes me like, I don't mind like blood and guts and all the gore. Like, that's not so bad for me, actually. It's like the like thinking about it. Like, I feel there are plenty of super creepy real people in the world. So like when I go to see a film like that, I'm thinking like all my neighbors are those super creepy weird people. And I'm like, whoa, all these people at the grocery store that I see every day. I'm like, oh my God, who are these people? So I think too much, and it makes me like, and then I can't really get into that because it's too much.
That sounds very familiar to me. Beth is like that. Like, it's like, oh, there's these, like thinking about like, it's that person could be a killer, or that person, or so it's kind of funny to hear the same thing.
So are you somebody that just kind of takes it home with you? Like you'll be thinking like that horror movie, like there'll be a moment or two that you'll have a nightmare about, or you'll sit at home in the dark and be freaked out by. Yeah.
Yes. And
Nice.
not a moment or two. It's like the whole, it absorbs my life. I'm like, no, I can't get away from it. It's like, no, it's bad.
That's funny.
What about if it's like a monster movie, like
um,
like Alien, like the xenomorphs, what about those? Like,
yeah,
does that take you home, or does that go home with you? Like, are
I
you
think
like, oh,
I believe in real life aliens, so I feel like that's pretty scary to me. I believe in ghosts, like I'm just totally think that can be a real thing. I'm a vibe person, so like I don't know, I vibe on people and I feel like sometimes there's something there. So I don't even like those. But maybe like a monster that I didn't think was real, like I couldn't wrap my brain around, then it would be okay. I don't know. I don't know if I would be willing. It's a little much. I'm not sure.
So, as somebody who believes in some of this stuff, how do you have you ever seen The Exorcist? Is The Exorcist like the ultimate scary thing, or
It's
are
like
there?
super creepy. Yes, no, I can't with that. No, that is like one of those things. Like I think about like sleepovers when I was younger, and now everybody wanted to watch scary movies, and it's like I don't want to be the only one that doesn't want to watch scary movies. But I mean, I couldn't sleep for like days and days and days after. Like I have to have my lights on, and then I would be like, my sister come in the basement with me when I'm doing my laundry. Like it's just too much. No, I can't.
That's funny.
all right, cool. So we laid the groundwork there. So what, just for the audience, I told you this like over text and email, like why we're bringing you on. You're great. You're fun to talk with and hang out. But whenever we bring guests, we like to kind of like have some sort of connection. And with you, you're a teacher. You teach middle school, right?
Yes.
So this trailer features a character about a teacher and what happens to her classroom. So I thought it'd be interesting to like bring you on, talk about this movie, and maybe get some teacher perspective and whatever else we can talk about there related to that. And so with that, let's dive in. You watched the trailer. Hopefully you watched the whole thing.
Whole thing.
Maybe you watched it multiple times. You're like, oh, this is really intriguing. I want to watch it more. So let us know. Just instant thoughts. What did you think of the trailer?
I did watch it a couple times because I had to make sure I had all the things. So I think for me, um, I would say the beginning was really very believable for me. The whole not necessarily arriving to school with no students because that's not that believable, but this idea that immediately she must have done something wrong, right? She's like vilified by everybody, right? The parents are angry. It's clearly she's, the problem and she's so upset by that because she cares so much for her students, we think, who knows, but she seems upset by this action. And she goes in front of all the parents at what must be like a school board experience, and then they're very angry with her, like, what have you done, what have you done? And I think that was, to me, very believable, because I feel like we're at a time right now where teachers are like vilified in a lot of ways, not all the ways, but in a lot of ways. I think that there's a lot of like blaming going around, and so that really, I thought, wow, that's like super believable to me as a teacher. And I had like a moment of sort of not sadness but empathy when she's sitting in the car and she's obviously speaking to her administrator, and he's like, the parents are really upset, and I think you should just not show up to work, basically. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's like, and she's supposed to just accept that, right? Like, he's decided that even if she hasn't done anything wrong, she should accept the blame, and she should just allow that sort of to happen. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting, because I feel like that is very much something that could happen, certainly. And it certainly drew me in as a teacher, because I really was thinking, like, what is going on here? Like, what is happening? Is she a problem? Has something happened? So it really kind of drew me in, for sure. Then I would say I like the way it was narrated, like with a child in the beginning, the way she was like telling the story. I thought that was really interesting. I like the way sort of anything told from a child's perspective, I feel like, tends to be more and less believable, right? Because you're getting sort of a rawness that you wouldn't get from an adult, because they edit things in ways that kids don't. But
Mhm.
then there's also, did you really see what you saw, or can you really trust a narrator who is 7 or 8 years old? All those things sort of came up for me. And then I would say my final thought was, I was really intrigued at that point. I'm like, oh, that was so super cool. But then, like, almost toward the end, I'm like, okay, now it's super creepy. Now it's like beyond what I want to watch. And I'm not sure I can watch it to the end, but I did. And then I watched it 2 or 3 more times to make sure that I was getting good notes so I could have good things to say. But at that point, I'm like, okay, because I didn't get it at first as like a horror film. I'm like, it felt more like a thriller. And I'm like, oh, I could get into this. But then no, 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 no. It shifted. And then for me, that was the end of that.
So was the trailer enough to give you nightmares? Was the trailer enough to stay with you
Yes.
and have it be creepy?
Yes.
Okay, good. Nice. Nice.
I apologize if you do have nightmares. That was not my intention.
That's okay.
But no, it was cool to hear. It was cool to hear your sort of perspective in terms of like seeing how like realistic this was from like the teacher educator point of view. But then obviously
Mhm.
there was that turning point in the trailer where you're like, no, this is too much.
Yes.
Cool. Well, and we'll dive into those little particulars in a bit. So Patrick, to you,
Yeah.
what were your thoughts?
My first thought was, thank God Pedro Pascal is not in this movie because it would have really taken me out.
I agree. I like Josh Brolin.
I love Brolin, and you know, I'll take Thanos over Mr. Fantastic any day. But I think this is a great trailer. I think this is a really well executed trailer, and as the only one on this call who doesn't have kids, I feel like the only one that can actually say this out loud, even though I know we all think it. Kids are creepy.
Yes.
Kids are creepy, man. So like the kid narrating it and like, you know, like the way that they're running, we'll talk about that in a minute, but like kids are scary. If anybody's ever seen Children of the Corn or even just not been a parent and seen a kid acting weird, be like, you know what, kids are creepy, guys. I know mom and dad over here can't say that, but guy with no kids can say it. So I think leaning into that made the trailer really start well, and I actually think so. It's called Weapons, which we'll come back to, and let's talk about the title a little bit later. But it's called Weapons, and I think the initial feeling, especially when it starts off by saying this is a true story, which obviously it ain't, but it makes me think at the first watch, it not knowing nothing about it, it almost feels like it's going to go like the gun way, right?
Yes, I
It's
thought
like
the same thing.
yeah,
Yes.
all the kids with the
Yeah.
backpacks, and you're seeing their feet
Yes.
shuffling, and
Yes.
it's like, okay, well, this is going to be a real event, and then it's like the kids just disappeared, and it's a nice to use your earlier terminology there, Ange. They kind of pull the rug early in that way. So I like the way that kind of plays. I really think that it seems like it's going to be almost a different movie, which is the intention of these trailers always. And then, you know, like you get to the Josh Brolin blaming her for why the kid's there, and it's like a conspiracy or a thriller. And then of course you get Joker Kid, right? You're in she has this what looks like it's a dream or something, and like the kid with the Joker face. I'm just gonna call him Joker Kid because that's what he looked like to me. Looks up, and I really like the way that the titles were presented. Like he looks up, he's really creepy, and all of a sudden there's an O around his face, which is like, whoa, what is that? You know, and the tone and the music really kind of, you're like, oh, okay. I have a feeling that's the time when Kelly, if she wasn't about to be on a podcast, would have changed the channel, right? That's the moment where you're like, oh, not for me. That's that Joker Kid makes me want to turn off the trailer, right?
Correct.
And then there's like this montage of all this weird, crazy stuff, like stabbing faces with forks and kids with weird arms running in like weird, creepy ways and crashing through windows. And you know, I reached that point, and then when you rewatch it, you're like, don't tell me about this true story, you lying, weird, creepy kid. But I think it's done really well, and I think that, you know, there's something cool about trailers that don't let you know what the hell this movie is. I felt that way with, to speak of Jordan Peele, like we were talking about him earlier, like Nope. I remember watching the trailer for Nope being like, I have literally no idea what this movie is, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that's powerful because you can get a sense of tone, you can get a sense of like if it's got a sense of humor or not, if it's dread, if it's gonna have jump scares, you get a sense of like the kind of movie it's gonna be, but no sense of the plot. And I think that's cool. I think that's the kind of thing that makes me want to see a movie. You know, I'm intrigued, and I have nothing but questions after watching this trailer, even after rewatching this trailer several times. I'm like, well, I don't know if these kids are possessed, if they're vampires, if they're ghosts, if there's devils and demons or abductions, or I literally have no idea. So it's cool. I'm leaning into that, and I think this trailer is really, really well made. So loved it.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one of the best trailers of the year so far. I know we're like halfway through. This came out a couple months ago, so it's been on the list to do. But yeah, I think the trailer is constructed very well for over 2 minutes, you don't really get a sense of. I mean, you get the log line, right? The child doing the VO, she basically spells out the log line of the film in the first 50 seconds. And I think I agree too that like using a child for the voiceover is perfect and adds to that creepiness. And it's almost as if the voiceover, the child telling, is like she's telling it like it's a story you would tell like at a spooky sleepover story. It's like,
Mm.
oh, this happened in my town, blah 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 blah. I think it wouldn't have been as effective if it was an adult doing the VO. So that's a plus there. And I also like that they don't show you the kid on screen telling the story, assuming it's that exists, or in the movie maybe it's on screen or not, but I think that works too. And you just, VO is the voiceover is a typical, a tactic that they use a lot in trailers to kind of help drive the narrative of the trailer and allow you to kind of like see a lot of images in a short amount of time. So 50 seconds, you kind of get like, oh, wow, there's a classroom. Kids didn't show up to class in the morning. And then at 1:17, creep hits the fan. And Patrick, you hinted at some of the things. It's just a montage of images in action with little to no dialogue. I think Josh Brolin says like two things, like, "Where are you, Evan?" Or I forget the name of his son, and then it's like, he says something else, but that's it. I feel like they could have just done no dialogue there, and it still would have worked. We're getting hints of like sort of what's gonna kind of happen, but still, it's so vague. You don't know really. It's just quick, fast cuts, the tension builds, the cuts get faster and faster. We see a lot of stuff. You could sort of get a sense that like maybe the teacher and Josh Brolin's character are kind of like maybe doing some independent detective work. They're circling documents, looking over security cam footage, studying photographs. And then it's just like the gnarly images. The kids running through the house, bursting through the windows. I think that shot's awesome. It's like all those kids just bursting through the house windows and just running around. And then there's this shot of like someone, I don't think it's a kid. I mean, it's hard to tell, but like where Alden's, it looked like he was a police officer driving, and this guy's like running in the road with his arms out, gets hit by a car off in the distance. That's just like, whoa. The shot at 1:35, there's this close up of a guy getting there's like a bunch of, it looked maybe kid hands, bloody hands, like smothering him. All great images. Love these images. Kelly, not so much, it seems.
Those are not for me.
A couple seconds later, there's this black oil or tar being poured on someone. It's just like, we're just getting assaulted with these images and like, what is going on? And then at 1:40, there's that woman stabbing herself with a fork. I don't know if she kind of just like is having didn't like her meal or something. It almost, or if she's hitting her ear, like she's using that as like a Q-tip. I don't know. Also disturbing. So a lot of there, everything's just like super fast, and there's more in there. I didn't want to pause it because there's a lot more images in there. I usually I'll like pause just to kind of like study and just reference it, but like for this I was like, what, I don't want to spoil anything, so I just like let it go, and it's just like it builds and builds to a crescendo, and then closes with the kids VO on that. The last shot of the trailer, there's the house with the door opening, and it's just like all black, no light on inside, and the VO says this is where the story really starts, and then it cuts to the title. I feel like in another trailer that would have been an opportunity to have like a jump scare, but I like that they didn't do that. In general, this trailer did not have any traditional jump scares. Kelly, I don't know, did you have any jump scare moments, or was
I did not, which I was surprised because I thought I was for sure I know it was creepy and scary, but no jump scares. But it's those kind of things are scarier to me. I think like the just like the frenetic nature of it, like so many images at once. That's just so like jarring. I think that's definitely scarier to me when I watch a film. That I don't really watch these films too much, but you hear my point. Like if I were to see, I don't know, I feel like that would be harder for me. This versus like just scared and then it's over. Like I don't think I would keep thinking about a jump scare in the same way. So for me,
Mhm.
that wouldn't be as scary.
Yeah, I feel like it almost makes it more sophisticated because I feel like the jump scare is kind of like the easy way out. It's like, boom, oh, we got the audience to jump. We're scary. Whereas, I love that moment you're talking about. The door opens and then it just kind of cuts to black because it's like, if you want to see more, you got to see the movie, guys. We're not. It's like a very cool like it's like beckoning you in. It's like beckoning you into the evil witch's house without showing you what's inside. You know, it's really kind of a classy way to do that, I think, and it's maybe a elevated, more sophisticated horror movie than some that have come out this year.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I honestly thought, I was like, all right, here comes the jump scare. It's the end of the movie or the end of the trailer. Here's the button. Let's see it. And like, and they hold on it a little bit longer, and it's like, and it didn't come. So I was like, I really like that. It was really good. I think that made it more visceral and more just scarier too. I think it had more of an impact that way than just like a traditional jump scare.
Yeah.
Patrick, you kind of like hinted at some of the other elements they use in the trailer, the titles, how the letters just kind of like come up. So what else did you think about that? Other than like, it was like creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy, but it also felt inexorable, like it was marching in a way that you can't stop it, and it had kind of a march to the drum of like an executioner kind of feel to it. Like I just liked the kind of plodding inevitability of it, and I like the title. I think the title is interesting because I think the obvious parallel here, like we've already talked about, is kind of to the school shooting, and you think weapons in school, and I'm wondering, beyond just kind of the basic metaphor, if there's more to it than that. And I almost get the sense, especially when you look at this as like, these kids are clearly, I know the voiceover says they never came back. I feel like they came back. I feel like we see some kids doing some zombie stuff or something, right? So I feel like maybe the kids are the weapons, which is, again, in metaphors, like guns don't kill people, people kill people, right? So maybe the kids are the weapons, right? The kids are choosing to do, in real life, the kids are choosing to be violent and do these horrible things. So maybe these children are the weapons. Maybe that's what the title refers to, perhaps. I don't know. But again, I like, it makes you think, it makes you wonder, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, when they first announced this, it was announced like, oh, Zach Cregger's he has a new film. It's called Weapons. The plot details are being kept secret, but it was being described as an interrelated multi-story horror epic that tonally is in the vein of Magnolia.
Whoa, all right. I don't know that I got that in the trailer, but that's interesting.
I've never seen Magnolia, but I was like, whoa, what is this? I kind of know what Magnolia is about, but I was like, oh, that's an interesting concept.
Well, I think this is a perfect time for you to go watch Magnolia, and then we can deepen this conversation.
In terms of the titles, what I thought was, I think it's effective, and I think in a couple ways. I think the method of them spelling out the title one letter at a time, it really works with the, like you said, the marching rhythmic build of the latter half of the trailer. But I think they're subtly telling you, they want you to know what this movie's called because they want you to come. And this is obviously not an IP movie. It's not Halloween. It's not Michael Myers. It's not Jason. It's not Freddy. So they want you to know what this movie is, and they want it to stick with you, right? So how do we do that? Obviously make a great trailer, have some great visuals, but let's put the title of the film in twice. They essentially just tell you the title of the film twice. They slowly spell it, Weapons, and then the sting at the end. And I think that's a smart way to do it for, again, like a movie that doesn't have a built-in audience. Like, what is Weapons? Like, no, but everyone's like, weapons. What is that? Is it a gun movie? Is it a knife movie? Whatever, But I think it's very effective that way. And another movie that kind of, I think, does that too, and I think they have a lot riding on that movie. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. The trailer for One Battle After Another. I don't know if you remember. They put the title of the film twice. And like, that's kind of that's not really standard. It's usually like title card comes at the end, and then it's like maybe a button joke or something, but like a little tag at the end, and then the movie release date. And I think for One Battle After Another, similar to this, like it's not IP. Nobody knows what does that mean. One Battle After Another, is it a war movie? It's clearly not really. So I think they want to emphasize to the audience, like, hey, this is the title of the film. So when you leave after 2 hours of seeing the movie that you just saw, you'll remember, like, oh, remember that trailer, One Battle After Another, remember that trailer, Weapons. So I think that's pretty effective. So that kind of like stuck out. And also kind of also reminded me of the the Alien trailer, the original Alien film by Ridley Scott.
Where they slowly start appearing, the letters. Yeah.
Kelly, so like, the original 1979, is it 79? Yeah. Alien film with Sigourney Weaver. the trailer for that, it's more of a teaser, but it slowly spells out the word alien in the teaser. And it's similar to this. It doesn't do like one letter at a time, but it kind of reminded me of that technique that they did there. Cool. What else? What else stuck out, Kelly? Anything?
I think those were my big ones. But it was interesting because I was thinking about how there definitely was the shift, right? At whatever time it was. But until that point, I'm like, this is very intriguing to me. Like, it really did pull me in to want to understand. And mostly I want to know if the teacher is to blame. Maybe because I'm a teacher, like I want to understand, like, what power does she have over these students, right? Or if any at all, right? So I was very I was really interested to try to understand that, but then I'm like, so it did certainly pull me in, which I guess is the point of a trailer, right? To get you to want to watch it. But I had a similar thought to Patrick, the way you were saying maybe the students are the weapons, but that makes sense to me too because each of them is a letter, right? So it's not just like all at once, right? So maybe each of them has a particular part to play in sort of that experience. I just think like students they don't play a part in a classroom, they're not acting, hopefully, most of the time, maybe some of the time, but most of the time they're not, and they do all play an important role though to make the entire thing work together. So I wondered if there might be something kind of related to that individually they're a letter, but together there's something different. So I don't know, that was sort of intriguing to me to sort of think about.
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. I think I thought it was interesting in the beginning when the kid, creep a lot, the narrator says something about first of all, it's interesting that it was like exactly at 2:17. Like I'm hoping there's some reason that's a significant number because like I like stuff like that, especially when there's again sometimes I don't like horror movies because there's no payoff for things like that. It's just like because it was weird. I hope there's a reason that is clear, but the way that they describe the kids getting up and walking, and then they don't say go outside or into the dark, into the night, into the dark, and then the moment Angel you were talking about earlier, where the door opens and it's just dark, you don't see anything, right? So there's something there. I'm obviously guessing something supernatural. There's that weird line that barefoot, which I thought was a kid, maybe it's an adult, but that barefoot kind of steps over that line, which had a very deliberate like choice to do something dangerous. Is how that step looked to me. So it makes me think that's like a protection circle, like something to keep a demon or a ghost out. You know what I mean? So it had that kind of supernatural element to it. And, if Sinners hadn't just come out, I'd be wondering if these are vampires or something, because the way the kids are all kind of moving and looking like Joker face looked like he maybe had some blood or something. There's something, obviously I'm hoping it's not that because we've already kind of hit our vampire quota this year, I think. But there's something supernatural, something about that really I think is interesting and I don't know how else Josh Brolin's going to be on the ground writhing in pain because he's a pretty big dude and these are just little kids, needs a little supernatural element to hurt him, right?
I mean, not to poo-poo your theory on like vampires because there's a lot of stuff during the day and obviously maybe they break the tropes of vampires not being of the day, but
and I don't think they're vampires, and I actually hope they're not vampires. I'm just saying like something in that vein.
I would actually love them to be vampires because I do like a vampire story and all the vampire things. So that would be not so creepy for me.
We got her back. She's back on board, Ange. We got her back. We got her back. We want her over.
I think I'd be okay with that.
Oh, so did you see Nosferatu?
No, not those kind of vampires.
No, she's talking about Twilight, Angel.
Yeah. Twilight vampires, Angel. Vampire Diaries, vampires, Angel. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, fine. From Dusk Till Dawn. That's fun. It's like two different movies there.
That. Yeah. I mean, that maybe, I don't know. That's borderline. Maybe they're not as loving as I like my vampire to be. So I mean. There has to be an element of the loving for me to really like the vampire. So
got it. Well, there's
only sexy vampires.
Well, and From Dusk Till Dawn, there's some brotherly love. Tarantino's character and George Clooney, they're brothers. Not to spoil it for anyone, but Tarantino, his character gets killed, and George Clooney's character is sad. So I mean, there's some love there. But I digress.
I like the romantic kind of vampire love, not the brotherly kind of vampire love.
then Nosferatu is love. Nosferatu is in love with it is all love. It's all love.
Oh, well, I'll
That's a
have
great
to try
that's a
it
great
then.
trailer, by
I
the
don't
way.
know. I'll have to think about that one.
That is a great trailer, by the way. If you haven't seen that, the first Nosferatu, awesome.
Yeah.
I talk about this stuff all the time. Music and sound effects in trailers are very, if done well, they can just grab me, and I'm like, I'm hooked, I'm in, I'm locked in. But what did you think about the music and sound effects in there? Cliche, standard, worked, didn't work.
I think both. I think all of those things. I think cliches exist for a reason, right? It's kind of like classic horror trope to have like dark ominous tones instead of like a traditional score, right? But again, in that kind of inexorable like marching towards death or whatever kind of, I think the dun 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 like really works, right? And like it coinciding the like these gong sounds with like the O appearing over Joker face and other, I think it really, I think the cliche exists for a reason. It works. I thought it was very effective. I think in a way that maybe a more traditional score would not have done. I think you need to kind of smash me with tones to make me scared when there's not, especially when there's not a lot of story and there's just imagery. I think
Mhm.
you need to kind of, I think it does a really good job of kind of forcing that imagery down your throat when they have these kind of aggressive like atonal and power like notes that they hit. So I liked it.
I think it worked if it's wanting to be creepy because it didn't feel that creepy to me until that kind of music. So in the beginning when it was very quiet and it was just the girl speaking, I'm like, "Oh, this is like no music really, right?" If I'm not mistaken, it was no music in the background then. And then as soon as the music built later, that definitely ups like the creepy factor for me, for sure. So if that's the like goal, then spot on.
Overall, I felt like the music was kind of like, it worked. There's this really, I felt like the cue at the end with the sting where the title comes up at the end, the final has almost like a 70s vibe to it, 70s horror vibe with like a, I'm not a music or an instrument expert, but it almost sounds like this like cello, and it just it had like this like, I don't know, Rosemary's Baby vibe, Omen vibe, 70s like horror vibe to it. But in terms of the sound effects, because there's not a lot of dialogue during the montage, but I feel like they use the sound effects in place of dialogue or like, maybe screams. So like when the guy is getting smothered and with all the hands on his face, he opens his mouth to like scream. You see him open his mouth like screaming, but you don't hear him scream, but you hear these like strings, like screeching strings in place, and I thought that was really effective, and I think that worked.
Mhm.
And then even when the guy's running in the street and gets hit by a car, that like the edit of like him getting hit by the car in sync with that drum beat or percussion beat, that marching beat that Patrick mentioned before, worked really well there. And I thought, I think their use of sound effects and the editing of it all really was effective.
Good trailer. Really good trailer.
What do you think is up with the kids when they're running around? Why do they have their arms out, like as if they're trying to fly? Any theories? I have no insight, and I don't have any. I mean, I don't have any like background on it. I'm just curious to hear what you guys think.
I almost get the sense that they're like in like mid transformation, like a metamorphosis into something else, so that's gonna have like demon wings or something. You know what I mean? It almost feels like there's something else that their body's getting ready to do, because it does have a little bit of that like, but it's also like kids are creepy, right? So like maybe they're like run like it's a game, run like you can't use like you're flying, like like it could be purely stylistic. I hope there's more reason to it than that, but I got the sense. I mean, I got the sense like they were holding weapons that we couldn't see. You know what I mean? Like they're holding these weapons that we can't see at the side.
Mm.
It kind of had a weird. Um, it seemed very deliberate, and everybody did it the exact same way. So there's something to it, but I don't know. I get the sense, like I said, I almost feel like they're kind of turning into something else, and it'll make sense when they finish turning, like why they're
Mm.
doing that. That was kind of my vibe.
I don't think I even noticed that, but I wonder. I teach seventh graders, and they're always kind of weird and awkward sometimes. So it's like some of the things they do don't make any sense ever, and like their body movements are sometimes very. I'm not sure. So I didn't even pick up on that because I think that maybe that's just how they are in general. But I'm not sure.
I would actually love if it's because one of the extras did that and they're like, dude, that's terrifying. Let's have everybody do that. I actually would love it if it came. Yeah, I would love it if it was just a random kid doing a weird thing that they all decided looked creepy. But it feels deliberate though.
Yes, well, but that does in a classroom too, because it's amazing how one person does something that is like what you would think is not that interesting or whatever, and then everybody does, and you're like, oh, okay, that caught on more than I was expecting.
I mean, human beings pump their arms when they run, so immediately they make something look wrong or less human if they're running. If somebody runs at full speed holding their arms out, it just looks
Mhm.
wrong. So
Yeah.
there's something very deliberately incorrect about that movement,
Hmm.
which makes it and again because everybody's doing it, whatever this event is, it's connected.
Pied Piper. The story of the Pied Piper. Do you think there's any connection there?
I didn't initially think anything of that because that would be the version if the teacher was the culprit and she led them all out. I think but I mean but maybe there's a Piper element where like some so they're playing some tune that only the kids can hear and they run off to see, and maybe that's why they're
Mhm.
holding their arms out. Maybe that's the dance. I don't know, but
Hmm.
it didn't occur to me until you just said it that there would be any connection
Yeah.
necessarily.
So, Patrick, you don't assume that she is like involved?
I assume that she's absolutely not involved. Um,
Oh,
so if the twist is that she's involved, you are a much better trailer watcher than I am because it didn't even occur to me. It
Don't
didn't even
trust
occur to
the
me. And
teacher.
she's a fantastic actress. So if you're going to cast somebody that's actually evil and you don't know she's evil to the end, she's a good choice. She's great.
huh.
But
But I
but
overthink
I
things, so maybe that's just my brain overthinking.
well, I just think it's interesting. The only teacher on this call assumes the teacher did it. I think that's a good insight into Kelly's psyche right there.
Well, I told you you're always in trouble for something, so
Right.
that's how it works.
So you might as well just do the crime. Yeah. Right.
Maybe.
But it is interesting though, like it's all the students from just her class and no one else. It's
Yeah.
not like like cherry picked
Yeah.
across different classrooms. So intriguing there. So
Right.
leading into our next sort of our section. So Kelly, background. Every episode, I like to pull out. I'll go to the YouTube page and like highlight a few YouTube comments that I thought were either funny, poignant, or kind of out there. And we
Okay.
can just comment on the comments on them, or just like, oh, that was stupid, or whatever. But I have a few here, and who knows if we'll keep them all. But so in no particular order, so the first comment says they took, if the teacher isn't here in 15 minutes, we can legally leave to a whole new level.
Well, that goes back to your earlier statement,
Exactly.
right?
Oh yeah, that's right. It goes back
Yeah.
to my like
Going to
playing
Burger
hooky.
King. Going to Burger
Exactly.
King.
Yes.
Going to Burger
But
King.
I don't
So
know that doesn't seem like it applies when they're in elementary school though, right? Because they can't like actually supervise themselves. So, I mean, I yes, but also no.
yeah,
So I'm not sure.
yeah. Yeah, well this is the internet being sarcastic and all that. Okay, cool. So next one is this one. I pulled this out specifically for you, this next comment. I can personally say as an educator, if I walked into my classroom and none of my students were there, it would not be a horror film. Do you agree? Agree? All right.
Yes, wholeheartedly.
All right, cool.
That's
Patrick, next comment, Patrick. This one's more up your alley. Wong, Thanos, and Silver Surfer versus Children of the Corn.
Yeah, I like that. We didn't even talk about Wongers. We should have talked about Wong being in this. I mean, there's not much to it in the trailer, but yeah, I'm happy that these poor, very successful Marvel actors are finally getting a chance to do other movies. It's nice for them, you know.
Cool. I think we can go into our verdict then. So Kelly, right now we'll give our rating on the trailer, and the choices are: will you see this movie opening night or in theaters? Will you wait to stream it, or will you skip it?
Okay.
As our guest, you'll go first. Just give us your rating and then just why.
Okay, so for me, you'll be surprised. I think I'm gonna stream it because then I can fast
Ooh.
forward all the creepy parts. So then I can actually find out if the teacher is the villain or not, which I'm really curious to know, but I don't have to watch any of the creepy parts. So that's gonna be my verdict.
That's all right. Okay. All right. That is a surprise. I thought it would be a total skip, though. I was hearing some positive things as you were talking about it. You were like intrigued. It was sort of a mystery, but then like, obviously the second half of the trailer kind of like didn't do it for you. It changed the tune, but I don't know. Could have gone either way, but all right, stream it, but you'll fast forward.
Definitely. Because I can't be left not knowing. I mean, I'm invested in understanding her role, so I need now to understand it without any of the creepiest
So what
parts.
I'm hearing is that this trailer succeeded beyond its wildest dreams because it turned a not horror movie person into somebody that has to find out what
Yeah.
happens in this movie. That
All
sounds like
right.
this trailer really worked. Really did a number on you, Kelly.
It did. It's that teacher vibe. You got to.
All right.
Nice.
Patrick, what's your rating?
I'm a little torn because I think this is one of the best trailers I've seen in a long time, and yet I don't often have anybody that wants to go to a horror movie with me as we already talked about. So I might have to go on a date night with you, Angel, to see. I think I might see this in theaters. I might bend over backwards and make this a theater trip, even though it's not the kind of movie I usually get a chance to see in theaters. But it's a really good trailer, and if this is one of those movies where afterwards I'm like, man, the trailer was better than that movie, I might be done with horror movies in theaters. This movie might ruin horror movies for me, or it might make me go to the next one. We'll see. But I think I'm see it in theaters.
All right. I'm there. Opening night, opening weekend.
Well, opening night. All right.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't want to get spoiled. I'm very excited. A few episodes ago, we talked about like what summer movie we were most excited for, and I was actually torn between this and Mission Impossible. But we were closer to the release of Mission Impossible, so I went with Mission Impossible. This one was like right behind it. I'm very excited. I like original looking horror movies. This trailer just capped it and like has me like super excited. I think it did its part in terms of like adding a lot of mystery, intrigue. I want to know what's going on. I don't want to see anymore. There's a second trailer that's online already. I'm trying to avoid it like the plague. I want to go in right now like semi-blind, just only haven't seen this and just see this when it comes out on August 8th. So yeah, I'm super excited. I really liked his last film. Nice surprise hit, new voice in like the horror movie community. So super pumped, and I think we should all go. Let's just like let's all the three of us will go. We'll see this in theaters. It'll be a good time.
Well, hold on. Is there any world in which we can talk you into that, Kelly? Because I would totally go on opening night if Kelly's there. I would totally do that.
Oh my gosh, I have to sleep with my lights on for like 2 weeks. No. And then
You'll have two big, strong men sitting on either side of you. What could be safer? What could be a safer way to see a horror movie?
It's after. What about when my kid wakes up with a nightmare and I have to walk downstairs in the dark? No way. No.
Well, you can cover your eyes. You can cover your eyes.
Yeah.
No.
You can't fast forward or pause it, but you can just like cover your eyes. Be like, all right.
No.
Think about it.
Too much. I'll think about it, but I'm telling you, it's gonna be no.
That sounds like you're thinking about it then.
How about this? If we can convince all of our significant others to go, that could be fun.
I'll tell you right now, Kelly's a much easier sell than Brenna. It is not happening on this in this house. It ain't happening.
My house either. Josh would never ever in a million years. No.
I don't know if Brenna would have made it through the trailer. I think she would have turned the trailer off.
I think she would have gone through this one more than like together.
I think that once you get to the fork stabbing, maybe even the Joker kid, she'd be like, "I'm out." That's my guess.
I think we'll try to convince you, Kelly. I think it'll be fun to kind of like close, and then we can come back on the pod and then you can talk about it, give your thoughts, and see. But
that would be a fun follow-up episode. We've never done that.
Yes.
That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
All right. Well, Angel, you better be ready when I call you at like 1:30 in the morning when I'm walking downstairs. Like, Angel, you're killing me.
You mean calling me at 2:17? Knocking on my door.
Yeah, it's gotta be 2:17 for sure.
Waking up, it'll be oh my gosh, I can't.
Kelly, what if we did it like little kid style and we just did a sleepover right after, so we were all together to experience that first night after seeing the movie?
But it would be many nights, Patrick, not just the first night.
I can only commit to one sleepover.
That's fair.
All right, awesome. That's it. So that's the pod. Thank you, Kelly, for joining and watching the trailer multiple times, even though it's not your cup of tea.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
This was fun. Hope you had fun.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
very fun.
we'll have to maybe do it again or check out the movie.
Or check out the movie and then do it again. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
All right. Awesome. And if you're listening, Again, we list all the trailers in our description. Check us out. And yeah, thanks for listening. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.